William Matthews sat in his home office on that cold Tuesday evening, staring at the computer screen with tired eyes. The marketing executive had been working late again, trying to catch up on the quarterly reports that seemed to multiply faster than he could complete them. At 34, he felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on his shoulders like a heavy coat he couldn't take off. Catherine was already asleep upstairs in their bedroom, her auburn hair spread across the pillow like silk threads, catching moonlight. They had been married for 8 years, and William still remembered the day he first saw her at the coffee shop near his old office. She had been reading a book about photography, her green eyes sparkling with curiosity as she turned each page. He had gathered the courage to approach her, spilling half his coffee in the process, but somehow making her laugh instead of running away. The house security system had been acting strange lately. Motion sensors triggering at odd hours, cameras switching on and off without explanation. William had installed the comprehensive system 6 months ago after a series of break-ins in their neighborhood had left Catherine feeling unsafe. She worked as a freelance graphic designer from their home studio, often alone during the day while William was at the office downtown. Tonight, he decided to review the recent recordings to identify what might be causing the false alarms. The security company had suggested checking for loose wiring or interference from nearby electronic devices. William pulled up the monitoring software on his laptop, scrolling through the timestamps from the past week. Most showed nothing unusual. Their cat, Whiskers, wandering through the living room at night, delivery trucks passing by during the day, neighbors walking their dogs along the sidewalk. He clicked on a file from 3 days ago, around 2 in the afternoon. The camera showed their front entrance, the wooden door with its brass knocker that Catherine had picked out during their first year of marriage. William fast-forwarded through several minutes of empty footage, then paused when he saw movement. A man approached their front door. William leaned closer to the screen, adjusting his glasses. The figure looked familiar, but the angle made it difficult to see clearly. The man knocked, waited, then knocked again. After a few moments, the door opened, and Catherine appeared. She was wearing the blue dress William had bought her for her birthday last month, the one that brought out the color of her eyes. What happened next made William's blood run cold. Catherine stepped aside, allowing the man to enter their home, but it wasn't a delivery person or a repairman. As the figure turned slightly toward the camera, William recognized him immediately. It was Marcus Chen, Catherine's college friend, who had recently moved back to their city. Marcus had been calling Catherine frequently, supposedly for advice about his new job and apartment hunting. William continued watching, his hands trembling slightly as he controlled the playback. The timestamp showed the man had stayed for over 2 hours. During this time, William had been in back-to-back meetings at the office, completely unaware of what was happening at home. He checked his phone records from that day. Catherine had texted him around lunch saying she was working on a new project and might be unavailable for calls. The front door camera didn't capture what happened inside the house, but William's mind raced with possibilities. He opened another file from the same day, this one from the camera positioned near their driveway. At 4:15 p.m., Marcus left the house, but before getting into his car, he turned back toward the door where Catherine stood. Even from a distance, William could see them talking, their body language comfortable and intimate in a way that made his stomach churn. He scrolled through more recent files, looking for other visits he might have missed. Tuesday of last week. Marcus again, this time staying for 90 minutes. The previous Friday, another visit while William was at his monthly department meeting that always ran late. Each discovery felt like a small knife twisting in his chest. Catherine had never mentioned these visits. When William asked about her days, she typically shared details about her design work, phone calls with clients, or mundane household activities. She had never once said, "Marcus stopped by today," or "I had coffee with Marcus while you were at work." William's mind drifted back to the changes he had noticed in Catherine over the past few months. She had started paying more attention to her appearance, buying new clothes and spending extra time on her hair and makeup even on days when she wasn't meeting clients. She had also become more protective of her phone, taking it with her to the bathroom and charging it on her side of the bed instead of in the kitchen like she used to. There were other small things that suddenly seemed significant. Catherine had started working out more regularly, claiming she wanted to get back in shape after letting herself go during the stressful period when her biggest client had almost canceled their contract. She had also been more distant during their conversations, often seeming distracted or lost in thought when William talked about his day or made plans for weekends. The most painful realization was remembering a conversation from 2 weeks ago. Catherine had casually mentioned that Marcus was having trouble adjusting to single life after his divorce, and she felt sorry for him being alone in a new city. William had even suggested they invite Marcus over for dinner sometime, thinking it would be nice to help Catherine's old friend feel more welcome. Catherine had quickly changed the subject, saying Marcus was too busy with work to commit to social plans. William closed the laptop and rubbed his temples, feeling the beginning of a headache forming behind his eyes. The house felt different now, as if the walls themselves were keeping secrets. He looked around his office, noting the wedding photos on his desk, the vacation pictures on the bookshelf, the small gifts Catherine had given him over the years. Everything seemed to mock him now with their false promises of happiness and fidelity. He couldn't confront Catherine immediately, not tonight, when she was sleeping peacefully upstairs, unaware that her secret had been discovered. William needed time to think, to plan what he would say and how he would handle the situation. But one thing was certain: their marriage would never be the same again. The trust that had taken 8 years to build had crumbled in the space of a few computer files and timestamp records. As he climbed the stairs to their bedroom, William felt like a stranger in his own home. Every step reminded him of the mornings when he had kissed Catherine goodbye, trusting that she would be there when he returned, faithful and loving as she had always been. Now he wondered how many of those goodbyes had been followed by Marcus's arrival, how many of Catherine's smiles had been hiding anticipation for another man's company. William barely slept that night. He lay beside Catherine, listening to her peaceful breathing, while his mind churned with questions and scenarios. Every small movement she made seemed amplified in the darkness. When she rolled over and her hand brushed against his arm, he flinched as if her touch had burned him. The woman he had shared a bed with for 8 years suddenly felt like a stranger. Morning came with its usual routine, but everything felt different. Catherine made coffee and toast, humming softly as she moved around the kitchen. She was wearing one of his old college t-shirts, her hair pulled back in a messy bun, looking exactly like the woman he had fallen in love with all those years ago. But now William saw her differently, wondering if this domestic scene was just another performance. "You look tired," Catherine said, placing a mug of coffee in front of him. "Did you work too late again last night?" William studied her face, searching for signs of guilt or deception. Her green eyes showed nothing but genuine concern. "I was reviewing the security footage," he said carefully, "trying to figure out why the system keeps acting up." Catherine nodded, buttering her toast. "Did you find anything interesting?" The casual way she asked the question made William's chest tighten. She showed no signs of nervousness, no indication that she might be worried about what the cameras had recorded. Either she was an excellent actress, or she genuinely didn't realize the security system had captured her secret meetings with Marcus. "Just the usual false alarms," William replied, testing her reaction. "Motion sensors picking up whiskers. That sort of thing." Catherine smiled and scratched behind their cat's ears as whiskers wound around her legs. "Maybe we should adjust the sensitivity settings. I'd hate for the neighbors to get annoyed by constant alerts." William went to work that day carrying the weight of his discovery like a stone in his chest. During his lunch break, instead of eating in the company cafeteria as usual, he drove to a small park near their house. He sat in his car, staring at their street from a distance, wondering if Marcus might visit again today. The thought of calling Catherine to check on her crossed his mind, but he couldn't trust himself to sound normal. At 2:30 p.m., William's worst fears were confirmed. Marcus's blue Honda pulled into their driveway. William watched through binoculars he kept in his car for the occasional bird-watching trip he and Catherine used to take together. Marcus walked to the front door with confident steps, like someone who belonged there. The door opened before he could knock, and Catherine appeared, this time wearing a yellow sundress that William had never seen before. They stood talking for a moment on the doorstep, close enough that their conversation appeared intimate. Then Catherine stepped aside, and Marcus entered their home. William checked his watch, noting the exact time. He would see how long this visit lasted, adding another piece to the growing evidence of his wife's betrayal. The afternoon dragged by with excruciating slowness. William found himself unable to concentrate on work, making mistakes in emails and losing track of conversations with colleagues. At 4 p.m., he made an excuse about feeling unwell and left the office early. By the time he reached the park again, Marcus was just leaving their house. William watched as his wife and her visitor said goodbye on the front porch. This time, their farewell included what appeared to be a brief hug. The gesture was quick and could have been innocent between old friends, but in the context of everything else William had discovered, it felt like another betrayal. That evening, Catherine seemed unusually cheerful. She had prepared William's favorite dinner, grilled salmon with asparagus and rice pilaf. She talked animatedly about a new project she was working on, a logo design for a local bakery. Her enthusiasm seemed genuine, but William couldn't shake the feeling that she was overcompensating, trying to distract him from noticing anything unusual about her day. "How was your day?" William asked during dinner, giving her another opportunity to mention Marcus's visit. "Productive," Catherine replied, taking a sip of wine. "I made good progress on the bakery logo, and I had a nice chat with my mom. She's thinking about redecorating the guest room again." No mention of Marcus, no acknowledgement that anyone had visited. William felt his heart sink further as he realized how easily the lies came to his wife. He wondered how long this deception had been going on, how many other secrets she might be keeping from him. Over the next few days, William developed a routine of checking the security footage each morning before work. He found 2 more visits from Marcus, one lasting 3 hours on Thursday afternoon, and another brief 30-minute stop on Saturday morning while William was at the grocery store. Each discovery felt like a fresh wound, but he forced himself to continue gathering evidence. The worst part was pretending everything was normal. William had to smile and laugh at Catherine's jokes, respond to her questions about his work, and maintain the facade of their happy marriage. At night, when she curled up next to him in bed, he had to resist the urge to pull away or demand an explanation. He needed to be strategic about when and how he confronted her. William also found himself studying their shared history, looking for signs he might have missed. Had Catherine always been capable of this kind of deception? Were there other times when she had lied to him about her activities or feelings? The more he thought about it, the more paranoid he became, questioning every memory and interaction they had shared. A week after his initial discovery, William made a decision that surprised even himself. Instead of immediately confronting Catherine, he decided to learn more about Marcus and the nature of their relationship. He created a fake social media account and searched for Marcus's profiles online. What he found there made everything worse. Marcus's recent posts included several photos taken around their city, at restaurants William recognized, in parks where he and Catherine used to walk together. One photo showed a coffee cup from Catherine's favorite cafe, posted with the caption, Great conversation with an old friend. The timestamp matched one of the days when William had seen Marcus visit their house. But the most damaging evidence came from a photo posted just 2 days earlier. It showed 2 wine glasses on a table at an upscale restaurant downtown, with the caption, "Perfect evening out." William recognized the restaurant immediately. It was the same place where he had proposed to Catherine 6 years ago. She had told him she was having dinner with her sister that night, claiming they needed to discuss their mother's upcoming birthday party. William closed his laptop and sat in stunned silence. The systematic nature of Catherine's lies was more extensive than he had imagined. She wasn't just hiding occasional visits from an old friend. She was conducting what appeared to be a full relationship behind his back, complete with romantic dinners and elaborate cover stories. The realization that Catherine could look him in the eye and fabricate detailed lies about her whereabouts shook William to his core. This wasn't a momentary lapse in judgment or a mistake she might regret. This was deliberate, calculated deception that had been going on for months, possibly longer. As he prepared for bed that night, William knew he couldn't continue the charade much longer. The weight of his knowledge was becoming unbearable, affecting his sleep, his work, and his ability to function normally. Tomorrow, he decided, he would have to find a way to make Catherine tell him the truth. The next morning arrived gray and drizzling, matching William's mood as he watched Catherine get ready for another day of what he now knew would likely include lies and deception. She was taking extra care with her appearance again, applying makeup with precision and choosing a dress he didn't recognize. When she kissed him goodbye, her lips felt cold against his cheek. William waited exactly 30 minutes after leaving for work, before doubling back home. He parked 2 blocks away and walked through their neighbor's backyard, approaching their house from an angle where the security cameras wouldn't detect him. He had decided that today he would gather undeniable proof of Catherine's betrayal, evidence so clear that she wouldn't be able to explain it away with more lies. Hidden behind the large oak tree in their backyard, William had a clear view of their kitchen window. At 10:45 a.m., he saw Catherine moving around inside, but she wasn't working at her computer as she had claimed she would be doing today. Instead, she was cleaning the house with unusual enthusiasm, arranging flowers in a vase, and lighting candles in the living room. At exactly 11 a.m., Marcus's blue Honda pulled into the driveway. William watched as Catherine opened the front door before Marcus could knock, greeting him with a smile that William recognized as the same one she used to reserve only for him. They embraced in the doorway, and this time there was nothing innocent about their body language. The hug lasted too long, and when they separated, Marcus's hand lingered on Catherine's lower back. William felt physically sick as he watched his wife lead another man into their home. The casual intimacy between them suggested this was a well-established routine, something they had done many times before. Through the kitchen window, William could see them talking and laughing, Marcus leaning against the counter where William ate breakfast every morning. After 20 minutes of watching them move around the house together, William couldn't stand anymore. He needed concrete evidence, something more than just security footage that could be explained away. He knew Catherine kept her laptop in the home office, and if she was conducting an affair, there would likely be digital evidence, emails, text messages, or social media communications that would prove the true nature of her relationship with Marcus. William used his key to enter through the back door, moving quietly through the house. He could hear Catherine and Marcus talking in the living room, their voices low and intimate. His heart pounded as he crept upstairs to their shared office, knowing that discovery would mean the end of any chance to handle this situation on his own terms. Catherine's laptop was open on the desk, still logged into her email account. William quickly scrolled through her recent messages, his hands shaking as he searched for communications with Marcus. What he found was worse than he had imagined. Dozens of emails stretching back 6 months, filled with endearments and inside jokes that read like love letters. One message from Marcus, sent just yesterday, contained plans for a weekend getaway to a bed and breakfast 2 hours away. Catherine had responded enthusiastically, suggesting they could tell their respective spouses about work obligations that would keep them busy. William realized with growing horror that Catherine was planning to lie to him about an entire weekend, fabricating an elaborate story to cover her tracks. But the email that shattered William's heart completely was one Catherine had sent to Marcus 3 weeks earlier. In it, she wrote about feeling trapped in her marriage, describing William as predictable and boring, and confessing that being with Marcus made her feel alive again in ways she had forgotten were possible. She wrote about regretting her marriage, wondering what her life might have been like if she had made different choices 8 years ago. William took photos of the email exchanges with his phone, his hands trembling so badly he could barely hold the device steady. Each message felt like a physical blow, destroying not just his present happiness, but rewriting his understanding of their entire relationship. How long had Catherine felt this way about him? How long had she been pretending to love him while secretly wishing she had never married him? Suddenly, William heard footsteps on the stairs. Panic shot through him as he realized Catherine or Marcus was coming upstairs. He quickly closed the laptop and looked around desperately for a hiding spot. The office closet was too small, and there was nowhere else to conceal himself. He heard Catherine's voice getting closer, talking about showing Marcus something in their bedroom. William's mind raced as he realized he was about to be caught in his own home, spying on his wife's affair. The humiliation of the situation was almost unbearable. But as Catherine's footsteps approached the office door, something inside William snapped. He was tired of hiding, tired of pretending, tired of being the victim in his own life. Instead of trying to hide, William positioned himself in the office doorway, blocking Catherine's path. When she reached the top of the stairs with Marcus close behind her, she stopped abruptly, her face cycling through confusion, shock, and then pure terror as she realized what his presence meant. "William?" Catherine's voice was barely above a whisper. "What are you doing home?" Marcus looked uncomfortable, clearly recognizing that he had walked into a situation that was about to become very unpleasant. He took a step back as if distance might somehow make him less culpable in what was happening. "I could ask you the same question," William replied, his voice surprisingly calm despite the chaos in his mind. "But I already know the answer. I've known for 2 weeks, Catherine. I've seen the security footage, read your emails, watched you lie to my face every single day." Catherine's face drained of color. She opened her mouth to speak, then closed it again, apparently realizing that denials would be pointless. The evidence was overwhelming, and they all knew it. "I've seen every visit," William continued, pulling out his phone to show the photographs he had taken of their email correspondence. "Every lie you've told me, every excuse you've made to cover your tracks. I know about the restaurant dinners, the weekend plans, everything." Catherine looked at the photos on his phone, and William watched as her last hope of talking her way out of the situation crumbled. Her shoulders sagged, and for the first time since he had discovered her affair, she looked genuinely remorseful. "William, please let me explain," she said, tears beginning to form in her eyes. "It's not what you think. I never meant for this to happen." But William was beyond explanations. The weeks of carrying this secret, of watching his wife lie to him with such casual ease, had drained him of any desire to hear her justifications. The woman standing in front of him was a stranger, someone capable of deceptions he had never imagined possible. "The only thing I want to know," William said, "is how long you've been planning to leave me. Because after reading your emails, it's clear you stopped loving me a long time ago." Catherine's tears came freely now, and for a moment, William almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then he remembered the email where she had described him as boring and predictable, where she had written about regretting their marriage, and his sympathy evaporated. "I do love you," Catherine sobbed. "I was confused, I made mistakes, but I never wanted to hurt you like this." William looked at Marcus, who had remained silent throughout the confrontation. "I think you should leave," he said quietly. "This conversation is between my wife and me." Marcus nodded gratefully and headed down the stairs, apparently relieved to escape the situation he had helped create. William heard the front door close, followed by the sound of a car starting in their driveway. Alone with Catherine, William felt the weight of 8 years of marriage pressing down on both of them. The woman he had loved, the person he had planned to spend his life with, had betrayed him in the most fundamental way possible. There would be no going back from this moment, no way to repair the trust that had been shattered beyond recognition. Catherine continued to cry, reaching out toward him as if to bridge the distance that now seemed infinite between them. But William stepped back, unable to bear her touch. The hands that had once brought him comfort now reminded him only of her betrayal, of all the time she had held him while secretly wishing she was somewhere else. As he looked at his wife, William realized that his marriage was over. Not because of what Catherine had done with Marcus, but because of what her actions revealed about who she really was. The woman he had fallen in love with 8 years ago had either never existed or had disappeared so gradually that he hadn't noticed until it was too late. What remained was someone capable of looking him in the eyes and lying without hesitation. Someone who could plan elaborate deceptions while maintaining the facade of a loving wife. William turned and walked down the stairs, leaving Catherine crying in their office. He had evidence of her affair, documentation of her lies, and a clear understanding of how she really felt about their marriage. Now he needed to decide what came next, but he knew with absolute certainty that their life together was finished. The recordings had revealed more than just Catherine's betrayal. They had shown him who she really was, and that person was not someone he could ever trust again.